Ready when you are.
Okay, so our book was Lord of the Flies by William Golding.
William Golding. He was born on September 19th, 1911 in St. Columba Minor, Cornwall, England. He passed away June 19th, 1993 in Perransworth, Cornwall, England. He died of congestive heart failure. He grew up in a 14th century house. His mother fought for women's suffrage, and his father, Alex, was a schoolmaster.
So his early education was at his dad's school, which was Marlborough Grammar School. At 12 years old, he unsuccessfully wrote his first novel, and he bullied his peers at that age, and he said it made him feel good. So then, after primary school, he attended Brasenose College at Oxford University, and he studied English. His father had wanted him to study science, but he decided to go for an English major.
In 1934, which was a year before he graduated, he published his first book, which was called Poems, and it was a collection. He was largely overlooked by critics, so he wasn't really a big deal originally. And then 20 years before Lord of the Flies was whenever he published his first book.
After college, he worked in settlement houses and at the theater. In 1935, Golding began teaching English and philosophy at Bishop Wadsworth School in Salisbury. In 1940, he abandoned teaching to join the Royal Navy and fight in World War II. A quote from him is, "Philosophy and religion, what are they when the wind blows and the water gets in locks?"
Okay, so William Golding, he was in the Royal Navy, and after he took a break from teaching, he spent the next 6 years on a boat. He fended off battleships, submarines, and planes, and was also in command of a rocket launching, craft thing, so he just launched rockets. And in his time in the war and teaching, unruly young boys were both good material for his writing. So, most of his writing was about these things. And in 1945, he went back to teaching and writing. And while he was in the Royal Navy, he said that he began to see what people were capable of doing. Anyone who moved through those years without understanding that man produces evil as a bee produces honey must have been blind or wrong in the head. Okay, so William Golding, Lord of the Flies. In 1954, after 21 rejections, he finally published Lord of the Flies. This book set the tone of all of his future novels and books and things. He continues to examine man's internal struggle between good and evil. In 1963, a year after his retirement, a movie was made of Lord of the Flies. In 1983, he was 73, and he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. In 1988, he was knighted by England's Queen Elizabeth II. And in 1990, another film of Lord of the Flies was released so that the new upcoming people could witness this story in their time.
Okay, so his last few years of his life were spent in Falmouth, Cornwall, with his wife Anne Brookfield, who he married in 1939. He had 2 children, David, he was born in 1940, and Judith, born in 1945, and up to his last days, he still continued writing.
So some other famous works were Rites of Passage, Pincher Martin, Free Fall, and The Pyramid. Rites of Passage won the 1980 Booker McConnell Prize. So it's another literature.
He had many other works other than this, but these are the most famous ones after Lord of the Flies.
Okay, I got this summary. So it starts off. It's a group of English boys in a plane. During the midst of a war, the boys were traveling to a different country and they were shot down. So after they were shot down, a boy named Ralph meets a young boy named Piggy, and they find this conch shell. They blow it. All the other boys start to gather around. I don't know exactly how many there were, but so they all gather up. They decide one of them has to be the leader of the group. So they vote for the leader of the group, a young boy named Jack, and a young boy named Ralph were the 2 that were at the top to be elected. So all the boys agreed on electing Ralph to be the leader, and Jack was very upset with this. So it became like a thing between Ralph and Jack. So they separated up into groups. Jack and the choir boys were known as the Hunters, and then Ralph and the rest of them were known as kind of like exploration and stuff like that. So there's also another group called the Laytons. They were the younger boys who couldn't really care for themselves and didn't really know what they were doing. So and then Ralph assigned a very intelligent boy named Simon to go out by himself and explore other parts of the island. Okay. Throughout this, Ralph thought there needed to be a signal fired. So what they did was they used Piggy's glasses, which was the only one on the island with glasses. So they put a bunch of pieces of broken wood down on the ground, and they used his glasses to light the fire. Therefore, and this was a big important step for them to keep the fire going. That way, if any ship happens to pass or a Coast Guard comes by, they can see it. So after this, the fire keeps going for a while, and then the fire starts to spread throughout the forest, causing a big commotion. And one of the youngest boys were presumed dead from the fire. Okay. So throughout this, Jack was hunting, and he saw a pig, and he obviously went to kill it, but he couldn't get himself to kill it completely, and ever since then he swore that he wouldn't mess up again. So tensions started to rise between Jack and Ralph, and their groups started to become a little bit away from each other. And then they built huts on the beach so that they could live in, stuff like that. One day after this, Jack returns with his first kill, which is the pig, obviously. And they started doing a strange dance after they returned back to base, and Ralph was not a fan of this. So Piggy wasn't a fan of it, and then Piggy started to criticize Jack and the hunters for doing this weird dance, and then Jack strikes Piggy in the face. Ralph was not a fan of that, and he blew the conch and demanded order after the boys. After the boys became calm, they started to become scared of a monster on the island. through somebody saying it. After that, one night, there was a plane. There's planes fighting above them from the war, and one pilot, his parachute went off and he was going down. He was dead, obviously. But he was going down and he landed in a tree. And the twins, Sam and Eric, happened to see this, and they ran back to base to warn everybody because they were scared of the monster. So after this, the boys created a group to hunt the beast, and they went up to the mountain and they seen the parachute, the guy, like just the parachute up in the trees, and they became scared, so they ran back to base. After this, Jack didn't agree that Ralph should be the leader anymore, and kind of questioned that he should be the leader, and the boys still thought that Ralph should still be the leader. So Jack didn't like this, so Jack started his own tribe, and it was kind of like a war between the two tribes. So Jack's tribe went to steal Piggy's glasses so that they could have their own fire and stuff like that. And once they woke up, they realized that Piggy's glasses were gone. They went over to Jack's tribe to get his glasses. So once they showed up, Jack obviously didn't want him there, so he tied up the twins, Sam and Eric, as an order to his people. So Jack and Ralph started to fight back and forth, and Piggy has asthma, so he can't really blow the conch shell. That's why Ralph always blew it. So he stood up on this platform to blow the conch shell, or at least try his best. And a kid named Roger pushed a boulder down, and it crushed and killed Piggy. So it also shattered the conch shell, so you know, can't really blow it no more. And then they started to try to hunt Jack, Ralph, as a pig. And he ran away and hid till he ran out on the beach, and there was a Coast Guard there to save him. And the Coast Guard did not believe anything that Ralph told him.
Okay, so key characters. Ralph is one of the oldest boys on the island, and he quickly becomes the leader. He is calm and rational. And then Piggy, he is intelligent, smart, and somewhat represents their peace. He always tries to bring them back to order whenever things get out of hand, and his knowledge is very useful to all the boys whenever they build a fire and they build huts on the beach. He uses rationalism to try and get the boys to all cooperate on the island so they can live together and get through it.
A few more key characters. Jack, he was militant and he was a savage hunter. Although in the beginning he couldn't bring himself to kill, eventually that was all he could do. And he was second in charge until he basically took over and formed his own group and left all the younger boys with Ralph. He's cruel and eventually turns on the other boys, and he was the leader of the choir, and he got the entire choir, which were his hunters, to turn on Ralph and the others as well. And he represents anarchy and the savage instinct in human beings. He was the start of the savagery on the island. He became rebellious towards Ralph, and all he wanted to do was hunt and have parties, eat pigs, and dance and do weird chances. And Ralph wanted to be responsible, have the fire, so he can be rescued and try and be safe. Simon, he was extremely shy and unable to speak the truth, and when he did, it was only towards Ralph. He would never speak up in front of others. He likes to walk in the jungle, and he represents a Christ figure, and walking in the jungle eventually is what caused his fatal.
key characters, Sam and Eric, they are twins. They stay with Piggy and Ralph after everyone goes to Jack's tribe. They saw the beast on the mountain while keeping the fire going, and they always had to do everything together. Roger, he's a bully. He's as cruel as Jack. He murders Piggy, and he's very sadistic.
Okay, so our picture down here, it shows what all goes on. So it shows that Roger kills Piggy. It shows like everything that goes on, and like through each character to each. And then down here it shows that Simon is the one that's you know, the one that's most mature, the one that's more like an adult, and everything's over-represented to him.
Okay, so Maurice, he's one of Jack's hunters, and during the kill the pig chant, he lays down and pretends to be a pig and then gets blood smeared on his face after they kill the pig. And Percival. Oh. Okay. Well, he's a little one, and he has a lot of nervous breakdowns and gets picked on and introduces the beast's arrival by the sea.
Okay, so key symbols. The Lord of the Flies is also known as the Beast. So what it is essentially is Jack's tribe, when they killed the pig, they cut its head off and they stuck it on a stick, and then they stuck it in the ground. And obviously whenever you see a big head on a stick, it kind of scared the other boys, you know. And when Simon seen it, he knew that the beast was transforming throughout the boys. The conch shell, so the conch shell brought civilization, it brought peace throughout everybody. It kept everybody in order when there needed to be order. So like whenever they were fighting and stuff, they could just blow the conch shell, and normally everybody would listen and calm down. So down here we just have a picture of some of the other symbols. I won't say the other ones because it's going to be on the other side. It's a nice picture.
Okay, so more key themes. Piggy's glasses, they represent power to make all resources usable. They use whatever they can, you know, to survive on this island. It also represents like innovation and being able to move forward even though they are children stuck on this island. Fire represents all of them because whenever fire is fueled, it grows. And if it's fueled up enough and not controlled, it goes out of control just like the boys did.
For Piggy's glasses as well, it represents a form of technology because it's smart for them to use Piggy's glasses to make a fire at such a young age. So.
key themes: loss of innocence. Ralph, Piggy, and the little ones represent innocence on the island in the beginning, or throughout the entire book. But Piggy's death causes innocence to be lost, as well as Ralph's fear of death at the hands of Jack and his hunters. Piggy was scared of Jack, and he told Ralph, he's like, if it weren't for you, Jack would just get rid of me. And Ralph at first didn't believe it, and then the death of Piggy made everyone realize that this isn't okay. Everything's going crazy, and that was the loss of innocence. And then savageness and society. Jack and his group turned to savagery as they turned to hunting humans. After Piggy's death, that was, well, even before that actually, Simon was crawling out of the woods in the dark, and an entire group didn't notice it was him, and they murdered him. And then after the death of Piggy, Jack, he hated Ralph throughout the entire thing. But after he turned everyone against him, and after already killing somebody, it was okay to kill humans. They're on an island by their own, forming their own society, so why not make their own rules? And they actually hunted him as if he was a pig, as if he was one of the animals on the island.
It doesn't really explain, but the Littons are in there because, you know, once the group started to spread apart, they really had nobody to take care of them too much. So, they're like young boys trying to take care of themselves, like really young boys, so.
More key themes is vice against virtue. Jack uses immoral action to get children to leave Ralph. Ralph turns into a vice and dominates the others, and then is left on the island to represent virtue. End of rationalism. Piggy was the representation of peace among the boys. He expressed rationalism and always tried to keep the peace. Jack had the chance to kill Piggy, and when he did, rationalism ended, and everyone turned to savage killers on the island.
So the absence of social norms. So social norms help people to be not so vicious and to not do the wrong things. Social norms also help to protect the weak, such as Piggy, and after the boys are on the island for a while, they lose sight of all the social norms, so they just go mad and just start killing everyone and anything. So the dehumanization of relations. Ralph and Jack are two normal boys that have a normal relation until they split, and then Jack orders his boys to kill Piggy, and then this starts to cause war on the island.
Okay, so the nature of evil versus vice. So even though people are good, they can still have a vice for evil. So there's obviously something that can drive you to go insane or crazy. Community against individual. Ralph always had Piggy, Piggy always had Ralph, and once Ralph lost Piggy, you know, he's kind of on his own. He really had no one else to turn to. So he was kind of on his own against Jack and his tribe. So that's that's how it comes in. So Jack's community versus Rob as an individual. And down here in this picture, it shows that the democracy's gone, the friendship's gone, the loss of innocence is gone, and the savagery is what took over. So.
So, author's comment on society. He believed that all society was fragile, the state of civilization and humanity, like, on the edge. So, all humans have a savage side. We always fail. We attempt to progress but fail almost instantly after something happens. So, these boys in the story were once well-behaved, good boys. And once they're faced with the reality of taking care of themselves on this island, even though they're trying to move forward, they are pushed back and, fight each other. So the war outside also is a big part because people create war. War just doesn't come out of nowhere. So the war outside also creates the boys' war within themselves and between each other. Every war that we have always negatively impacts people and societies and the world around us. So William Golding believed that the wars that we fight, even though they're supposed to do good, they still negatively impact us, and that's what he tries to show through his book, that humans possess instincts that have negative impacts on everything.
Okay, so what do I want to say? So like what a lot of this has to do with the world outside. Young people learn from wise older people. So if something's going on throughout the other parts of the world, it'll have an impact on them because kids learn from their parents. They just don't learn it themselves. So.
What makes this novel dystopian? Well, dystopian is relating to or denoting an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. And in this book, they got on the island because of a plane crash, because of a war. They were shot down, and it's pretty tragic. And they tried to learn how to create their own society. They tried to have something that symbolizes authority, which was the conch, and so they had a chief, and they attempted to build homes. They were trying to make this like their place. We want to be like the adults. They would always talk about the adults. Well, this is what the adults would do. And eventually it all goes mad, and just like the world, like Brett said, the real world outside of where they were, there was war, and that's exactly what happened here. The society fell apart, anarchy took over, and everyone was fighting each other.
So another part that helps this is that it says children go mad and start to kill people off. Children don't usually kill people, so that makes it a bit harder.